So today we're going to make the Dash Cakes chocolate mud cake mix for you. The first thing we're going to do is grab our tin. So this makes 2 cakes. We're going to make 2 cake layers. This is an 8-inch round, 3-inch high tin, 20 centimeters. So just grab one of those and then we're going to line it. Grab your baking paper. Show you a little trick here. So take out a little bit of baking paper. Now, I always like to use my trusty palette knife, but you can just use scissors for this part. And coming through there, then you've got your 2 sheets. So to cut our rounds, we're going to take those, fold it in half, and then in half again, and this way. So you've got your little triangle there, place that in the center, and then cut around like that. Open it up and you've got your perfect little round there without having to do any tracing or anything. Grab your canola spray. Now you can use any brand you like. We go through a lot of this and bake a lot of cakes. Coles, can't go past it, nice and cheap, does the job. Nice good coating all the way around the sides. And there, on the bottom, all the way around the sides. Make sure you're covering it completely. And pop your rounds in. And down like that, and set those aside for when we're done. And turning the oven on to 150 degrees is what we're going to do. So you are going to take your mixer bowl and set your weights. You're going to add your liquid ingredients first, which is always the thing. So we've got 3 eggs here, making sure they're at room temperature. So bring them out of the fridge about a half an hour before you want to make your cake. And we've got 175 grams of those. And we've got 265 grams of water. Excellent. And 145 grams of vegetable oil, which I've just... And then take your bag of Dash Cake mix. This is the chocolate mud, one of my favorites. Not too heavy on the chocolate, just a really nice chocolate mud cake. Still a lot heavier than our light cake. So we've got that there. So that one's there, all in there. Now pop that in your KitchenAid with the paddle attachment. And then we're going to mix this just on the lowest speed. You don't want it sort of whipping up, for 1 minute. So it's been a minute with that going around there. And we're just going to lift that up, scrape around the edges, make sure you're getting any of that dry ingredient. Sure to go to the bottom. And then bring off the spatula. Getting all of that back in the bowl, popping it down. Now we're going medium speed for 2 more minutes. Okay. Okay, that's had 2 minutes. So we're going to take that off now, pull that down, and then our spatula. Wipe all the cake mix off your paddle. And then you're going to evenly split it over your 2 cake tins. Giving it a good scrape down and final mix in before we do that. Making sure to scrape off all that's in the bowl. Scraping that down. Excellent. All right, so in your preheated oven, 150 degrees, you're going to pop those into the oven. Make sure your cake tins aren't touching so that the air flows nicely around both. And we're just going to bake that Now we start baking ours here at 60 minutes because obviously our ovens are a bit more powerful, but at home just gauge how your oven is and set it to the required amount. But we'll do 60 and then a bit of a test and check that they're ready. Okay, so that's been an hour and we're gonna pull those out. They're looking quite good. What we wanna look for is that it has pulled away slightly from the edges, which this has done. And when we touch, that it's springing back nicely. And then grab your skewer, stick it in, nice and clean. And then we're gonna leave those in the tins for probably at least a good hour before we're going to turn them out and let them cool a bit. So, but a good couple of hours is good for this cake to let it set nice and well. All right, so our cakes are nice and cool. They've been out of the oven for a good couple of hours and they just come out beautifully and easily. Hold it in one hand, pull that off there, and your 2 perfectly delicious Dash chocolate mud cakes ready for you to eat as is or decorate. Stay tuned for the next video where we're going to teach you how to make our adorable buttercream and you can decorate this like we do in store.